You are tuned in live to the Earl Spence versus Terrence Crawford preview show. It's your boy G5JeffTv, aka G5, aka 5, aka the Guru. I got my main man with me, Ty Finney, the legend, in the building. What's going on, bro?
Man, what's going on, man? You know, like I said, man, I'm on vacation, man. We got a big weekend upon us, man. So, let's get this thing jumping.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Big shout out to the team, though. Big shout out to Chris G. Big shout out to Shane. Big shout out to Vlog. I just seen Shane try to jump in here a second ago. Just everybody to just show Ty Finney support, show me support. We are streaming on multiple platforms right now. We are on Facebook. We are also on G5JeffTv, of course. Ty Finney's channel is also streaming this. And this should be on Vlog's channel as well. So we're in a lot of different areas. But we have so much to talk about. I know it's a Spence versus Crawford preview show. We'll definitely get into that a little bit. Maybe about 10-15 minutes in, let some people get up in here and get settled. But it's so much to talk about in the sport of boxing. And we just came off of a fight, Cool Boy Stephen Fulton versus Inui. And I haven't seen that dominant of a performance in a long time between two. You could arguably say Cool Boy Steph was a top 10 pound for pound fighter. If he wasn't in your top 10, he definitely should have been in your top 12 for sure. And then Inui was pretty much in everybody's top 10 that knows anything about boxing. To see one guy get dominated like that when you're talking about 2 pound for pound guys, you don't see it often. And big shout out to Inui, man. What was your thoughts on that fight, bro?
Yeah, it went the way that I expected to go. Inouye is a power puncher. Fulton is the type of fighter that fights his opponent's game, and he always good at it. But the power was just so different. Fulton with only 8 KOs and 20-some fights, and Inouye like almost all knockouts in all of his fights. I just knew that eventually Inouye would get him out of there. So
yeah, we got my guy Jo in the building. Says salute G5. I know you from Philly. Respect to Fulton for taking the fight, and he'll be back strong. But that monster Inouye is just on a different level. Japan fans showed major love to both warriors. Jo, big shout out to you, bro. Always showing love, man. Big shout out to you. I kind of want to speak on the Japanese fans. Like they definitely from what I've seen, they definitely showed Cool Boy Steph a lot of love out there, and it looked like they was very respectful after the fight too. I didn't see anything disrespectful or anything, which kind of shows, like big shout out to that fan base. Because if I knew he was here, like it'd have got super ugly, But yeah, like Cool Boy Steph went out there and he tried to get a legendary victory, and it just didn't work out for him. Like, got my guy up in here. We got International Shane in the building, running up some steps or something. I don't know what's going on, but he ain't been on here in a while. Unmute, bro.
Yeah, sorry, bro. It's chaos in my
Nah.
house right now.
That is VP Shane in the building, aka International Shane. You know what I'm
Jeff
saying?
had been in a band for a while. He's done from the channel. What's up, legend? How you been?
Hey man, everything good, man. Everything good. We
I'm
just
happy to be back at home, bro.
hey man, back at
I'm happy
home,
to be back
man.
at home, bro.
Yes,
I've
VP
been on all
Shane in the
these other
building.
podcasts, but this is where I belong.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know what, bro? We got into the Fulton and the Nui fight. I know we talked earlier, but I think people need to hear kind of your breakdown on it, and it's you've come at a good time because like people just watched the fight and they was just like, oh, he just got beat up. But you know, you got to come here to get the technical aspect of it. So, Shane, if you don't mind, can you kind of give people what you saw in that fight? Why was Anui so successful, and why was Fulton just he couldn't get any answers in the fight?
Well, I think when you look at the fight, and it it's funny because going into the fight, obviously, I really wanted Fulton to win, and my boxing heart and my boxing mind was just saying, I'm hoping Fulton can get the job done. But I knew it was going to be a tall task from the beginning because obviously the power. The question mark was whether the power is going to translate forward, like up, because he's fighting at 118. He's moving up a weight class to 122. And obviously Fulton's fought punches before, and he never really seemed, rocked or phased by their power. But obviously Inoue moving up a weight class, we're just wondering how that power would translate. Now, 1 second, Jeff.
Go ahead, you got it.
Yeah, so obviously now, when you look at the fight back, if you look at the first round specifically, you can see that Inoue got Fulton's respect in the first round, especially with the jab. The fact that he was able to establish the jab early, and if you look at Fulton, he's always been a really good boxer, and he's never really been in there with anyone who's been able to beat him to the punch in terms of timing, speed, any of that. And Inoue done that really early. And I felt like after he felt the power and there wasn't any range Fulton felt comfortable at. And I felt like going into the fight, he would have thought, well, all the way out would be comfortable for me because I got the longer reach and I got the better jab. When he got beat to the jab, it was almost like he was in no man's land. And he ran out of answers before the question even got asked. And that was the problem. Before there was even a question asked, he ran out of answers.
Good point. Good point. I know another thing. I know ESPN was talking about this during the telecast of the fight. They was talking about how wide Fulton's stance was. Um, give us like
We
the
we we
positives and negatives on a
we
wide
we,
base.
we, we spoke about this off camera. So
Mm-hmm.
anyone who understands the technical aspects of boxing, Floyd always used to have a wide stance,
Mm-hmm.
and when you have a wide stance, no matter who you are, anyone who's watching this, they can literally practice what I'm about to say. Go out and have a wide stance. Naturally, when you have a wide stance, you have a lead foot and a back foot. You have a lead shoulder and a back shoulder. So when you have that stance, naturally you're side on. So if you have a wide stance, and the wider the stance is, the more side on you are. Now, the reason why that's a problem in a fight like that is because when the only safe place is all the way in, you need to make sure the gap between your front foot and your back foot is closer. Reason being is because you need to transition inside as quick as possible. I want everybody to do this right now. Literally try and run with one lead foot. In order for you to run, one foot has to go in front of the other, and the trailing foot then has to go back in front of the other. That's how you cut off the ring. To cut off the ring, you have to be as square as possible because your back foot at some stage has to go in front of your front foot. That's how you cut off the ring as quick as possible. The fastest way to cover ground is when you're square. No matter how you look at it. If me and Bolt was to race right now and he was to sidestep and I was to run square, I would get to the destination before he does because I'm square. So the
Right.
reason why that's a problem is because when you have someone like Fulton who realizes real early that he can't fight off the back foot, which when you're side on, fighting off the back foot is perfect. But when you have to cut off the ring and go inside, you need to be square. You can't be side on because you don't cut off the angles quick enough. specifically when someone has better foot placement than you. The reason why is because if you're side on, they can pivot left, they can pivot right, because you haven't cut off the angle because you're side on. You have to be square when you're walking someone down. That's why when you look at someone like Joe Frazier, one of the best walk down fighters of all time, they walk down behind the high guard and they're square all the way through. Sean Porter's another one. Manny Pacquiao's another one. 90% of the time they're square. Whereas Fulton, when he realized that the fight was only safe all the way in, he should have went square up instead of side on. And that's just the technical facts of it.
Yeah, I thought they mentioned his wide base, and I was like, I didn't feel like they went any further into it outside of him just having a wide base. But when you're dealing with a fighter that has a wide base, the most important thing is how quickly do they transition out of the wide base.
Facts.
Like, that's just their base position. So if you have a wide base and you transition slow out of your wide base, you're gonna get caught a lot.
Especially at
So
mid-range. Especially at mid-range.
especially at mid range. So Fulton first 2 rounds, you can tell he was just trying to figure distance out, speed, power. He had no intentions of doing anything offensively. He was just trying to fill the situation out. Pretty much after round 2, he tried mid range, and it was bad. It was really
Fireworks,
bad.
bro.
It was bad, and I didn't know Inui's foot quickness was that quick. And I'm talking getting from point A to point B without kind of telegraphing the
Facts.
movements as is really good. Because like take a Lomachenko for example, his footwork is so good because I'm like, you can't watch him on film and really telegraph where he's getting ready to move. Everything looks the same. Everything looks the same. The Nui feet was so quick that he made that wide base of Stephen Fulton a detriment more
No,
than anything.
definitely. And you know why Fulton suffered that like even more was because obviously of the fact that he doesn't have the punch power to get the respect.
Yeah.
Now, for me, someone like a Niue is like a steam train. You need to do something to stop that steam train because they're just going to build up momentum. You know, like you got cars that go from 0 to 60 in a certain amount of time. A new way is like that. You need to put something in their weight early, and Jeff speaks about this all the time, admission fees. Now, Inoue didn't mind what range he fought at because every range he fought at, he knew that even at the very worst, if Fulton was able to hit me, you can't hurt me. And that we saw that real early.
That's a fact, bro. 100% facts. The thing about it is a lot of people talked about the size difference in the fight, and I really didn't think much of it because I'm like, Fulton doesn't fight like a big guy. Like he doesn't
Right.
fight like a big guy. Like it's plenty
Not
of
at all.
fighters that use their there's plenty of fighters that use their weight, and it's a big thing in terms of their game planning and things like that. Fulton don't use his weight. He don't use his size. He's not a bully on the inside. Like he got that nickname for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not the rough and tough guy that's gonna, you know what I'm saying, like bully you on the inside. So I didn't think the size was really gonna be a factor. It was really the
I thought
actual.
I see. The thing is, I thought it was similar to the situation with Usyk and AJ. I thought the issue that Inoue was gonna have was that moving up a weight class, Fulton's punch resistance was gonna be better than the fighters he's fought before. Similar to when Usyk fought dudes at cruiserweight. Your punch resistance fighting a dude at a higher weight class was gonna be higher, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah, yeah. Legend, I like watching the fight. When did you I guess at what point in the fight you was like you just was just like, I don't think Fulton's gonna be able to do anything with this dude.
My
Like
uncle's
after
here. My uncle's here. He said first round. He said afterwards in the first round.
What legend? What you think? Like,
yeah,
what round you was just like, yo, I don't think he gonna be able to do anything.
once I seen the blood coming out the nose and the mouth, I knew he was I just knew he was gonna have trouble from that point. And that was early. That was like second round, I believe. Once I seen that blood coming, I knew he was gonna have trouble, man.
I would say after round 3, I was pretty much I was convinced that Fulton was going to lose the fight. And that was before like he really started getting them hands put on him. Like I knew he was still in the process of setting
The,
stuff
the, the,
up.
the, the reason why you didn't need Inoue to flick that switch is because Inoue got into a rhythm. And fighters at that level, when they get into a rhythm, it's really difficult to offset them.
Yeah, and to add this on too, and this is all technical talk. Like it's easy to get on camera and be like, "Oh well, Fulton just got beat up, he got his ass whipped." Like no, like there's a process that was done, um, for Nui to be that successful. Number one, he was in Fulton's head before the fight started. He was in Fulton's head before the fight started. He was worried about the power. He was worried about the speed. He came into the fight not sure of what he was walking into, and he fought like that. The reason I said round 3 is simply because first 2 rounds he fought on the outside, he's getting picked apart. After that third round, he tried to get mid range, and he was just eating stab jabs to the chest. Stab jabs to the chest and the stomach.
Do you know what I feel like? I feel like when you look at that fight, Inoue hit him with like power shots in the first round, and insert. Of course, in certain aspects, you got like how can I say it? Like when you get someone's respect so early, certain fighters react certain ways. And it's funny because I don't know what Inoue's mindset was going into the fight. I definitely know Inoue had a game plan really early because when you think about it, at no stage did Inoue look phased by anything Fulton done. But the reason why that was because Fulton didn't try anything new. He literally looked shocked by the approach that Inoue came with. And I almost feel like it was part of Inoue's game plan to go, I'm gonna beat you boxing first. Because when I beat you boxing first, and then you go into the toolbox and realize there's nothing else in the toolbox you can beat me with, that's when you're gonna realize you're in trouble.
And that's a great point because nobody talks about that. Like you could tell Fulton Fulton really didn't earn no respect after the first round, and after the second round, Inoue was like, this dude I'm walking right through this dude. I'm playing my game and that's it. So Inoue never felt like he needed to change his game plan. He never felt like he had to do anything different. Like he went in there and did typical Inoue. And when you are a guy, you're on the road, number one. So you're going in with the mindset like, yo, I got to get him up out of there. And you only got 8 knockouts and 21 wins. So you're already up against it. Then physically, Inoue's the superior fighter on every physical level. Power department, Inoue. Foot speed, Inoue. You know what I'm saying? Hand speed, Inoue. Like, so when you physically don't have any real advantages, the only advantage you have is weight, and you don't have a style where you are actually using your weight to your advantage, it's not really much you can do with a guy like that.
I slightly disagree. I slightly disagree, and I know where you're coming from. I know where you're coming from with that. But why I slightly disagree where you say that there's not much you can do is the fact that I feel like in fights like that where dude has more physical advantages than you, which we've clearly saw. He had a bit of hand speed, he had a bit of foot speed, he had a bit of punching power. I feel like you almost got to make, and mentally, I also felt he was more prepared than Fulton.
Yeah.
Because I felt like Fulton almost, after he felt the power, he ran out of ideas. But what I feel like what you can do, and this is probably, I want to say the only thing you can do is you got to try and make this guy as uncomfortable as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Reason why I'm saying that is because do you remember when Charlo fought Tony Harrison the first time?
Mm-hmm.
Every physical advantage Charlo had in terms of power, in terms of everything. And
Right.
obviously in an opponent's territory, you always have to feel like the fans are against you. But sometimes you can turn the fans against the home fighter. And the only way you do that is by making this fight as boring as possible. If I'm in the crowd thinking, bro, I've been waiting 5 hours to watch Inoue fight, and Inoue ain't landing no money shots, I'm going to get frustrated. And as Inoue, you might start hearing some boos. You might start hearing some, the crowd go, you might hear some friction in the crowd, and Inoue might start getting desperate. After the first 2 rounds, if I was Fulton, I would have made this a fight of attrition, which would have been like, okay, let's see how you fight down the stretch. You've never really been the distance before. I've been the distance, 20 times. Let's see how you fight down the stretch. That's what I would have done. Let's see how you fight on the stretch. Let's turn this fight into a high output, high intense fight where you got to use your legs. You got to cut off the ring, a bit like what that Boots opponent done. Obviously not that negative, but let's see how you fight down the stretch. And once I've taken your legs away and you get a bit tired, then we can fight. Because when your dude's got all those advantages, you have to find a way to level the playing field. And the only way you can do that is by just trying to make this fight as boring and as dull and as nasty as possible. Run, hold, hug, just be as negative as possible. And then when it gets to the second half of the fight, after Inoue's thrown, because everything Inoue threw was pretty much power shots. After the first half of the fight of 6 rounds of just non-stop power shots, let's see how much gas you got in the tank now.
Yeah, and the thing about it with Fulton, like, it's hard to make a guy uncomfortable when you're not comfortable. He just, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he just never looked comfortable, like, at all in the fight.
Asked a good question, by the way, Jeff. Check.
Okay. Let's get in the comments real quick. My guy Bruce Gas in the building, man. Big shout out to you, bro.
Wow, shout out to Bruce Scores. I ain't seen him in a long time. What's up, bro?
That's my guy, man. J.O., he said Inoue up jab was beautiful. His jab in general from all different angles was phenomenal. His jab, he throws jabs, and his feint game is nice too. Like, he was feinting Fulton and making Fulton reset off of a feint.
Every time,
bro. So,
and I was so frustrating because I'm like, you have to be first and last because the dude's faster than you. So you can't allow the feint.
He wasn't first once in the fight.
Not once.
Not first, not one time in the fight. Everything was reactive. He didn't try to make anything happen. He never tried to initiate because he had the speed.
You're so afraid of the power. You're so afraid of the power.
It was crazy. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Now, I was comparing this fight to Virgil Ortiz and McKinson. I was thinking it was going to play out like that, but McKinson was letting his hands go. Like, he wasn't afraid of Virgil Ortiz's power. He was taking the fight to Virgil Ortiz until he got stopped.
Right.
Like, Fulton did nothing like that. Nothing like what McKinson did. And Fulton had more power than McKinson.
The difference between Fulton and McKinson, which me and Jeff covered this fight. McKinson fought a puncher before that in Chris Congo. Chris Congo was a big puncher. So he already knew how to deal with a big puncher before. Me and Jeff covered that fight. Remember, Jeff, when we done Chris Congo versus McKinson? He already knew how to deal with a big puncher, so he didn't go into that fight with the same level of fear that Fulton did.
Yeah.
That is a good comparison, though.
That is a good comparison, though, for real. Jo said, after this dominating performance, where do you have Inouye on a pound for pound? I see him getting undisputed at 122, moving up to 126, and maybe a Robisi could beat him, but Inouye is definitely going to be the favorite.
He's number one. He's pound for pound number one. Even after Crawford and Spence, for me, he's pound for pound number one. Because the reason why I say that is because there's one thing moving up a weight class and beating the best in the division. There's another thing moving up a weight class and destroying the best in the division. It wasn't even close. There was like 2 levels between them. And the thing with me is why I say he's pound for pound number one is because there's no one at his weight class, whether it's 118 or 122, that is anywhere near him. At least with Crawford and Spence, they're transferable. Their ability is, it is 50-50. That fight wasn't 50-50. That fight wasn't even, I can be honest, that fight was a 90-10 fight. And I'm being generous to Fulton because I didn't even think Fulton won 1 minute of that fight. He's pound for pound number one.
Legend, where you got him at, bro?
Yeah, I would have to wait to see until Crawford and Spence fight. If whoever wins between Crawford and Spence, I got that number one pound for pound. But I know he's definitely in that top list too.
He should be in everybody's top 3. If Inouye's not in anybody's top 3, we're gonna have to fight. Like, we definitely gonna have to scrap, for sure. So he should be in everybody's top 3. Now, if Crawford wins Saturday, I would be hard pressed to put Inouye over Crawford for this reason. Crawford, of course, he would be undisputed, 2 different weight classes, and he would have beaten the top guy at 147, the considered top guy at 147 over the past couple of years. So, but if Spence beats Crawford, I don't know.
But the reason why my asterisk is there, like this is why my asterisk is there on why I can't put Crawford ahead of Inouye if Crawford beats Spence, was because for me, Crawford acclimatized to the weight class. He's been at the weight class for 5 years. Inouye said, I'm moving up and I'm fighting the best at this weight class. And it wasn't even close.
What your uncle think? What your uncle think, Shane?
He was talking right now, so I just had him on.
No. Yeah, tell him to get a camera.
He was basically saying, what he said was he was saying that Crawford and Spence, the issue again, in your first fight moving up a weight class to knock out, and this is a legitimate champion, to knock him out in your first fight at that weight class, it supersedes everything Spencer Crawford's done.
He outboxed him, and then he won the game from the first round, man. He won the round, he won the fight.
Yeah, so he said, yeah.
You gotta factor this in too, though. Like, Stephen Fulton was head shoulders the best at 122. I guess what I would have to kind of not even combat it, but just playing devil's advocate is Crawford and Spence should be in everybody's top 5. So whoever wins that fight would have a victory and undisputed versus a top 5 pound for pound guy. So if I had to argue that, that's probably where I'm going with it. But I will say this though, Inouye in boots.
Definitely not Spence. The reason I say definitely not Spence, because this is his weight class. So in all due respect to Spence, and I love Spence, he's fighting a guy who is at his weight class. So Inouye's already cleaned out his weight class. He moved up to find a challenge and he didn't even find one. It's similar to if Errol Spence moved up to 154 and knocked Jamel Charlo out in the 8th round. That's what is similar. Let's be honest. That's what he done. Inoue moved up to the weight class and fought the consensus best at that weight class. What people are forgetting, Fulton beat Danny Roman, he beat Figueroa, he beat Angelo Leo, he beat 9 undefeated champions in a row.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he beat the general consensus best and he knocked him out. He outboxed him, then knocked him out. Like, bro, it's different.
Fulton, I had Fulton, I think 10 on my pound for pound list going into the fight. If you had him slightly outside your top 10 pound for pound, I'm cool with that. If you had him in your top 10, I'm cool with that. Bottom line is cool boy Steph's a bad boy. He's a bad boy. And you know, Inoue, and I was explaining this to vlog off camera. I'm like, cool boy Steph ain't forget how to fight yesterday. Like, you understand what I'm saying? I'm like, there was a reason why he fought like that. And Inoue's the reason why he fought like that. It's going to be it's a discussion. It's a discussion because you even got to factor in like, now I love Beterbiev, like love him to death. And he has a similar outside of the jumping of the weight class, like in terms of what he's done in his career. Like, you can really look at a guy like a Beterbiev, guy like an Inoue. Like, these guys are just like, when they go in the ring, it's not just a W. Like, they're planting the flag in the middle of the ring. Like, it's different. So it definitely needs to be a discussion. Even after Saturday, where that's a perfect time to have the pound for pound discussion.
But you know what though? After Saturday for me, and I was saying this, I feel like we need to scrap the pound for pound list and just look at guys like Spence and Crawford and Inoue and Usyk as all-time greats. They're just all-time great fighters. It's not even.
Sure.
It's like when people were talking about Leonard and Hagler and fighters of that ilk. It's not about pound for pound. They're all-time great fighters now. Who was pound for pound ahead of Floyd and Andre Ward? It doesn't matter. They're just all-time great fighters. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And again, like, you gotta salute Cool Boy Steph for even taking the goddamn risk. Like, and there was another thing that actually Adrian Broner, he made a statement like earlier today, like on social media, and he was like supporting Cool Boy Steph, and he was just like,
well, a lot of black celebrities have come out in support of Cool Boy Steph, which I respect.
But but it was one thing that Broner said that it was kind of a head scratcher. But he was like, people, talking about Cool Boy got knocked out and this, that, and the third, and like these people never been inside the ring, never took a punch. I'm like, but I know what my eyes saw. He got knocked out in the fight. Like, I'm like, what's wrong with highlighting what actually happened? Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, Broner got knocked down in the Maidana fight. He got up though. He lost that fight, but he showed a lot of heart. Like, you understand what I'm saying? I'm like, people feel like because you've never been in the ring before, you can't actually talk about what actually happened. Like, I don't understand that.
I actually found it's funny because I watched that fight and I thought that fight reminded me of Adrian Broner versus Mikey Garcia, in the sense that he got hit with a shot and for the whole fight he just kept his hands in his pocket.
Yeah,
and there was no offense from Stephen Fulton. From once he felt the money shot early, but it was limited. And I know a lot of people say that obviously he was in there with a great fight. And I know you said you got to give him credit for taking the challenge, but at the end of the day, he's a champion, so he has to fight the best available opponent. And Inoue was the best available opponent. So whilst I respect him, he was supposed to take on the best available opponent, and he fell well short.
Yeah, no, and it is what it is, and it's like, it seemed like people are like afraid of like somebody that's like speaking an actual fact. Like, somebody saying Cool Boy Steph got knocked out, dominated. Like, that's not false. Like, it's not false. It doesn't matter if you got in the ring before or not. Like, that is a fact. Like, you know what I'm saying? Inouye had a dominant performance. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so a lot of people have shown support, you know, for Cool Boy Steph, but
Do you know what is so scary for me? And I think both of you and Legend can agree with this, in the sense that it was scary at the fact that this guy cleaned out 118 and he looked better in this fight than he looked at 118. That's what's so scary for me. He looked better at 122 than he looked at 118.
where does he cap at? Does he cap at 26?
I think 26 will be a bit of a stretch because I feel like obviously he's already done 4 weight classes and he does have a small frame. His power will translate up, but once like 126 has some real tall, big dudes. Like you got dudes like obviously Rabisi is similar in height, but someone like Lee Wood, he's about 5'8". You got a little range and height. It will be slightly different and difficult. Ray Vargas is another one who's very tall and very, very rangy. They can beat Inouye not because they're better than him, just because he just taken one step too far. You see what I'm saying? Even if he was to fight like an old Shaq Foster, for example, it's just one step too far. Not because of skill, it's just because of size.
It's just the dynamics. Him against Robisi would be a really risky fight. He is a
Robisi was on the undercard as well, and he got a knockout as well. He got a knockout on the undercard.
Yeah, Robisi's a really good fighter. I think 122 is his cap, but because of the lack of competition at 122, he gonna dip his toes at 26.
But it's funny because you say there's a lack of competition at 122, but the only reason why we say that is because of what Fulton done at 122. You see what I'm saying?
Not necessarily, because like so our top guys was Fulton,
MJ,
Rice Halim just lost. Rice Halim just lost. He was a top 5 guy.
Figueroa.
I think I don't give Figueroa 5 rounds.
Yeah, well, with that fighting style, it's going to be a bit difficult because he's just going to come face first. The guy who just beat Ahmed Aliyev, I can't remember his name, but the guy who just beat Ahmed Aliyev, right now I'm having a mental block, and I literally was talking about him earlier today, who Inouye is going to fight next for undisputed.
That was the Filipino guy.
Yeah, that dude can't bro, this is ridiculous. The dude's going to be undisputed in 2 different weight classes. Are we really having a competition of who's pound for pound number 1? Like, he's going to be undisputed at the same time. Are we really going to have that discussion?
Well, we're going to have it after Saturday.
I mean, people can't. I respect, but like, Buddy's been my pound for pound for a long time. But like, he's going to be undisputed in 2 different weight classes at the same time. Are we actually having this? Are we actually having this discussion of who's pound for pound number 1?
Now it depends on in the fashion of Crawford winning. Now if he mops Spence, then yeah,
the thing is I can't see that discussion. The thing is I can't see that. That's why I can't see that.
We're gonna have to have that discussion. I think there's more of a discussion if Spence wins than Crawford, because Crawford, you could say the same thing as you could say with Inouye, but he has the better top opponent. You feel what I'm saying? Like, so you can go in there and rumble off of that. But if Spence wins, there's still going to be a lot of people to say that Inouye is still pound for pound number 1. Shane one of them. You know what I'm saying? Let me get in the comments real quick. Let's see. Jo said, I also have Inouye pound for pound number 1, Shane, but if Bud wins, I have him number 1. Spence wins, I still would have him behind Inouye. Spence has fought twice in 45 months and only 1 division champ. Bro, I think Legend, didn't Chris G say that yesterday?
Yeah, I think
it was the multiple weight classes was big for him.
Yeah. Hey, so what is Shane prediction for Bud and Spence? Is he going for Spence?
If I know Shane, he's probably going Bud.
What did you say? What did you say? Sorry.
What's your prediction for Bud and Spence? Who you going for, and like how?
If you put a gun to my head, and I said this earlier today, if you put a gun to my head, I'm gonna say Crawford, but I genuinely don't know. Like I genuinely don't know. Like I can do tape, but I can see where Crawford wins by stoppage and knockout. I can see how Spence wins by knockout and points. So genuinely, I'm completely 50-50. And I don't know who I think's gonna win. But if you put a gun to my head, I'll say Crawford.
I'm going for. I hate to say it, man, but I'm predicting the late Crawford stoppage. But you know, somebody brought up a good point. He said this man been in one of the worst car accidents. Ain't nothing gonna stop him. Like that was a bad accident. So you factor that in. He's been in a bad accident. Now he can take a punch.
No, bro. He definitely can take a punch.
Yeah, I mean,
I brought up an analogy. Whoever doesn't follow me on Instagram, go follow me on Instagram. I said this early. I said this before. I said I compare it to two mathematicians. You got one mathematician in it who 9 times out of 10 they're going to give you the right answer to the equation without even giving you the working outs. They're not even going to need to show their working outs, just mental arithmetic. 1 + 1 = 2. Like literally in their head, they're always 9 times out of 10, 90 times out of 100, they're going to give you that right answer. However, you got the mathematician where 100 times out of 100, they're going to give you the right answer. No matter what the question is, they're going to give you the right answer. However, in order for them to give you that right answer, they need the paperwork. They need that extra piece of paper. They need that time. They need that extra time, the extra they need to run the experiment. They need to get the equations. They need to show their working outs. They need an extra bit of time and paper to figure things out. Crawford is that. Crawford needs the extra time to get to the timing. He needs to get the range. He needs to figure certain things out, like the pace of the fight, the pace of the opponent. If you give Crawford the time and space to figure you out, I don't care what fighter you are, whether you're Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Floyd Mayweather, you will never beat Crawford because his timing is impeccable. So if you give him that time and space to figure you out, you've lost. It's not about winning anymore. It's about self-preservation. Because not only does he have the technical ability to beat you and outbox you, but he's got the dog to knock you out. There's nothing you can do once he's got the timing. However, Errol Spence is that fighter who ain't going to give you that time. He ain't going to give you that extra paper to find your working outs. You got to find that working out on the fly. And this is what we're going to find out. We're going to find out who has the ability to knock out who.
Yeah. Jo, we're definitely gonna have to address that after Saturday. But let me run through these so we can actually get into Spence Crawford. Ty, big shout out to you, bro. He said, I know it's early, but do you see in a perfect world a Nui versus Tank Davis super fight? No. Legend brought that up to me earlier. I didn't even hear about that, but it's just too much of a weight difference. Too much of a weight difference. It's a great fantasy fight, but too much of a weight difference. DM3, what's going on, bro? He said, what's up, guys? Good to see y'all. I was going for a minute, but I'm back. When y'all get to talking about the fight Saturday, I'm rolling with Spence. Good to see you, bro. Jo, he said, I just saw Tank versus Chris Colbert is supposedly in the works for December. SMH, I hope that's not true. Floyd was supposedly holding him back now. What will be the excuse?
Let me answer that, man.
Go ahead.
So I was hearing that too, but I was seeing a guy post that he claims to be on the inside. He's saying it's not true. So he basically cleared that up and said it's not true.
Okay, I heard the opposite. I heard they're definitely negotiating.
Well,
I don't know if it's gonna happen, but
you heard it's true. You heard it's not true. You heard it's not true. You heard it's true. Yeah. And I heard nothing. So I'm banging it. I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, bro. we'll talk. We'll discuss that later. DM3 said, I think Spence will do like Marvin Hagler did the Hitman. It's not going to be a slugfest, but I think Spence is going to do the same thing Marvelous
It,
did
it,
to
it,
him by
it-
pressuring
it's,
him and stopping him.
it's funny because I actually feel like there's a chance that this fight can be like that. There's a very, very high chance that this fight can be like that because I think when Crawford gets hit, he's going to want to fight and it's just going to turn into a brawl. So I feel there's a very high chance it's going to be like that. The only difference is I think Marvin Hagler's punch power was a massive playing factor in Hitman getting knocked out. Whereas I think Errol Spence has got more of an accumulative punch power. He's not got that single shot that will just ice you out. So
yeah, I think I'm really. Let me get through this last comment because I'm really going back and forth on who I'm going with. Jo said, yeah, Bud versus Spence is a true 50-50 fight for me. I'm so split. Bud can give away early rounds, in my opinion. I just can't see Bud stopping Spence. I so I'm like Shane on this one. Like if you ask me to make a choice, gun to my head, I'm going Bud. But Bud has a lot of moments where he kind of throws the technical stuff out the window. And he does it quite a bit. There's a
especially at
bigger
147.
yeah, there's a bigger price to pay when you do that and you got Spence standing across from you. And another thing with Spence has a way of making guys keep their hands in their pocket. He does that a lot. Like I'd have never thought in a million years, even though it was a weight difference, I'd have never thought in a million years like Mikey Garcia is gonna have his hands in his pocket. You understand what I'm saying? You take a guy like Ugas, he had moments, but for the most part, he had his hands in his pocket. You know, like Spence has that. He has the ultimate style that is difficult to deal with for a guy that's not like super athletic. Like that southpaw boxer puncher, strong puncher is very difficult to deal with.
The,
Very
the,
difficult to deal
the,
with.
the problem with why what you're saying is so true is because for all the boxing ability that Bud has over Spence, Crawford doesn't have the better jab.
No,
Errol's got the better jab. Errol's got the better jab. And that's the problem. Because for me, I know Bud has that mind switch where he's just gonna turn it into a brawl. But the fact that Spence has got the better jab, the only thing that I think is gonna counteract that is because I think early on in the fight, Spence is gonna load up on body shots. And Jeff says it's 100 times out of 100. Exchanging body shots with headshots, you don't get a good exchange rate from that. And that's why I feel like Spence has got a good chance of winning. Because Bud has got amazing timing. If you're like trying to land 3s and 4s body shots for Bud's 1s and 2 headshots, he's gonna come out better on the exchange. And he's gonna come better out on the exchange. And that's why I think it might be a bit too much for Spence, especially down the stretch, because I personally think Bud is the hardest puncher Spence has been in the ring with.
Hey, let me ask you this: where do you rate Spence's chin? Like we seen him lose the mouthpiece to Ugas, and I don't think Ugas capitalized on that yet. He didn't take advantage. Like Crawford see him hurt, he gonna go on for the kill.
That's a fact.
So, like, where do you rate Spence's chin?
He's got a good chin, though. He definitely has a good chin. I thought that was more of a lapse in concentration. I would say he's got a better chin than Crawford.
He loses his mouthpiece quite a bit, though.
That's because of the car accident.
I was going to say that's post car accident too. You never seen him lose his mouthpiece pre car accident.
I mean, we saw Crawford hurt against Gamboa and against Kavalauskas, so I would say Spence probably has better punch resistance.
Yeah, I think Spence has better punch resistance too. Man, this is really like a 50-50 fight because there's only one way Bud can fight, and I would be like he's clearly winning. but I just don't see him. I just don't see
I don't
him.
see it.
I don't
I don't
see
see
it.
the
And
Postal fight. The way
yeah,
he fought against Postal.
if he fights Spence the way he fought Postal, I can see him winning like 8-4. I can
Fact.
see him winning 8-4 easy. I just don't think Bud is going to do it. I just
Nope.
don't think Bud is going to do it, which means he's going to leave Spence with opportunities. And Spence is extremely accurate. He's one of the most efficient fighters in the sport. Like he don't waste shots. He don't
Nope.
waste shots either. And I feel like Bud gets a lot of guys in trouble because they waste shots. Spence ain't wasting no shots. He ain't wasting no shots. And I think Bud can't give up early rounds. Like he can't go into round 5 down 4-0 or 3-1. Because then that's right down Spence alley. Like that's right down Spence alley. Because I think Bud is going to spend the first 2 rounds trying to figure out which stance he's actually going to fight in for the whole fight. And of course, if you want to break it down from a technical standpoint, obviously nobody's ever done it, but you have to do something with Spence jab. Spence has a top 5 jab in the sport.
I
You have to
actually
do something with it.
disagree. I think for the first time ever, we're gonna see Crawford fight Southpaw all the way through the fight.
Is that best for him though?
The reason why I think it is because Spence isn't used to fighting Southpaws.
All right,
Spence's Southpaw jab versus Crawford's orthodox jab, bro, it's one-way traffic. It's one-way traffic, bro. Spence will kill Errol. Spence will kill Bud. So and I know, bro, Bud, whilst Bud is a dog, he knows this. Bro, there's no way he don't know this. He knows this. He's gotta go Southpaw all the way through the fight.
well, and if the thing about that, right? So for my new boxing folks, so Bud goes, orthodox and southpaw. So if Spence right hand is in front, if Bud is fighting southpaw, his right hand is going to be in front, which is basically is equivalent to orthodox basically. With Bud fighting conventional, and this is just something I just saying in terms of tape, Bud does a very good job of taking away people's jab by actually pawing with them before they even throw the jab. If that's his game plan, it's probably better off if he's in the orthodox spot. Now in terms of Spence is going to have to, if Spence wins this fight, he's going to have to show me, he's going to have to do this. And I think he's going to do this for the first time in his career. Spence, 95% of the time, his combinations start with a jab. If he's going to have ultimate success in this fight, he's going to have to show that he can actually get success offensively without being jabbed first. Because I think Bud is so skilled inside the ring that at times he's going to take away that jab. He's not going to take it away the full fight, but it's going to be spots and pockets where he's going to take away that jab, just pawing at the jab with him. So if you're trying to throw your jab out and somebody's meeting you halfway and they just
that's why I'm more confident that Crawford has to go with southpaw, because anybody who watches Crawford southpaw, when he's southpaw, he really don't lead with the jab, but because his strongest hand is his right hand, so Spence's strongest hand is his left hand. His power shot, his money shot is his left hand. Crawford's strongest hand is his right hand. So every time you overcommit with a jab and you miss, you're going to walk into a lead right hand from Crawford. And majority of the time, that's the power shot. That wide slapping right hand from Crawford, that's what you're going to have to worry about. And that's what Jeff's talking about, taking away that jab away from you. In the fact that when you miss with your jab and you see a slapping right hand come over the top of that orthodox southpaw jab, then you're going to start checking your shots.
Yeah, I think to be honest with you, I haven't seen Bud fight multiple rounds orthodox in a long time. I don't even know how his orthodox game is. To be honest with you, you run his last.
He was about he fought orthodox for about 3 rounds against Porter. He fought orthodox against obviously he fought orthodox against Victor Postal for long periods of time, but that was because he was walking Postal onto the
He was
onto
walking
the
him into
backhand.
shots. Yeah.
So obviously that was a bit different, and obviously Postal had longer range than him, so he was walking him onto punches. But obviously, the last fight we saw against Avanesian, he fought the whole fight southpaw.
Right.
Against Amir Khan, he fought the first few rounds in orthodox and then switched to southpaw. I just think he knows in this fight he can't switch. He has to fight southpaw all the way through.
Yeah, because that's what he's most comfortable with. You know, at the end of the day, like he hasn't fought orthodox for a whole fight like in the longest.
What
So
chicken?
you know what I mean. Let me see.
I wasn't even here. For sure, but I saw it. It's fun.
Andre Southgate, full support. Salute to all. Big shout out to you, bro. Big shout out to you. He also said, finally, the fight is here. Spence versus Crawford. Great fight. My guy Matt in the building, he said, cut to the chase. Who wins? Now, are you talking from a betting standpoint or who will we talking about? Like, I think, gun to my head, I'm going Crawford, but I could easily see Spence winning this fight. I'm gonna go Crawford. I'm gonna go Crawford decision. I'm not confident in that at all. Legend, what you got?
I got
Who you got?
I got Crawford late stoppage, but I kind of feel like he would go into this fight like Triple G did against Canelo. You know, we all know that Canelo, Triple G got serious power, but I don't think he really pressed as hard as he could. Like when he fought the guy, when he started fighting guys with like power, like Danny Jacobs and Canelo, I don't think he pressed as hard as he could. And I feel like Crawford may not press as hard because Spence got power, but I think like once he makes the adjustments, like once he starts getting to the later rounds, filling them out, I think he just will start letting his hands go and he could get a late stoppage. So I'm going, Crawford probably about like 10-round stoppage.
Do you know why it's so difficult? Because every time Crawford's ever flicked that switch, he's always got them out of there. Remember when he got hurt against Gamboa, he flicked the switch and he's like, yeah, forget this. I'm going for it. He knocked him out. It's over. Same thing with Porter. He found out he was down on the cards. He's like, what? I'm down. Flick the switch. It's over. Same thing he done with Kavalauskas. Kavalauskas dropped him. Well, it wasn't counted as a drop, but whatever, it was a drop. And straight after that, he knocked him out. It's over. When Crawford flicks that switch, he normally knocks the dude out and it's over. What does Crawford do when he flicks that switch and lands the money shot and the dude's still there? That's the question. Because Errol Spence is still going to be there.
Yeah. I agree. I agree, bro. He said these judges that fucked me. I had Loma and I had Hughes. I thought Kambosos got beat. I thought Kambosos got beat. I know I talked to Vlog. Vlog thought that Kambosos won. I thought Max won that fight. Shane, I don't know if you scored that fight or even watched the fight.
Hughes beat Kambosos. Hughes beat Kambosos.
So I just
you know what was so funny? I watched that fight and I actually felt that Kambosos knew that there was going to be some home cooking. Like he almost felt like, I don't have to win this fight to win this fight.
Good point.
I didn't see the fight, man. I didn't see it.
You didn't see it? Hey, Legend, when you get a chance, like go watch that. Go watch that and score it if you got a chance. I thought it was a clear fight to score. I didn't see it wasn't too many rounds where I was just like, I was pretty straightforward with my scorecard. But Matt, I hear you, bro. I hear you. Southgate said for sure Buzz seems to do better going southpaw. Yeah, he's probably gonna go southpaw the entire fight because that's just what he's comfortable doing. If he goes orthodox, it might be for like a 30 seconds to a minute. Jay Banks in the building. Big shout out to you. He said betting. I mean, if Spence is like a plus 140, 150, then you gotta go with Spence just off the money. You know what I'm saying? Like just off the money. He said, I'm betting a draw. It could happen. It could happen. It could happen. I ain't gonna lie. Jay Banks is going for Crawford.
Do you think there will be a knockdown in this fight?
Damn, that's a good question. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes.
I do too. I do too.
Now, if is it gonna be clean? I don't know, but I can see one of them questionable knockdowns where there's a punch / balance issue. You know what I mean? And they count it as a knockdown. I could see it. I could see it. I could see it. We all from. He said, "No way, Cambozo won." Yeah, that was terrible. I want to apologize for you for having money on that fight. That was terrible. At Vlog gonna have to explain himself too, because I don't even know why I listen to vlogs sometimes. He's like he said he thought Cambosis won by like 1 or 2 rounds, but I forgot he had money on the fight. I can't listen to him. You know what I'm saying? I can't even listen to him. Andre Southgate, both guys can win by stoppage. It should be an interesting one for sure. I'm on the fence. I can see it going both ways. I'm with you 100%. Southgate. I think my 2 main questions is when Spence hits Bud with the money shot, which he will at some point during the fight. It's going to happen. What is Crawford's reaction? Because I'm like, he's never been in a ring with anybody as strong as Spence. What's going to happen when he get hit with that money shot and vice versa? Those should be the first 2 questions.
The thing is, I know what both fighters are gonna do.
What's that?
Bro, they're gonna have it. They're just gonna go to war.
No, I agree with that. I'm talking about that initial first money shot in the fight. How are you reacting? How's your body reacting? That's gonna tell me a good amount. Because for example, if Spence lands a money shot within the first 2 rounds, and there's a stank leg or something from Bud's gonna have problems the rest of the fight. Now, if Bud lands something on Spence and Spence is a little rocky, I'm looking for that first 3 rounds. Whoever lands the money shot first, I want to see how the other person reacts. And I'm talking about their legs.
I will be more worried for Spence. You know why I'll be more worried for Spence?
I think
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I'll be more worried for Spence. Because Spence ain't got plan B. Spence is plan A all the way through. If he gets caught with a money shot and gets hurt, he's pretty much screwed. Because at least Bud can run and box and keep it moving. Spence ain't got that in his repertoire. If Crawford catches Spence with a punch and hurts him, bro, it's gonna be one-way traffic. I'm telling you.
Well, the thing about that, bro, if it's the other way around and Bud doesn't react well, he could move, he could run, but he may not be moving and running at a normal pace. And you know, Spence is one of the best track down fighters in the sport.
But at least he's got that. What does Spence have?
I agree.
Hey,
But
let me ask
bro.
this: Do you think Crawford got the same legs or footwork from a couple of years ago? Do you think he would be able to move good for, like, if this fight goes to 12 rounds? Do you think he would be able to move good for 12 rounds?
I can answer that. I think at some stages in this fight, I don't think Crawford can move for 12 rounds because he won't win. I don't think he at some stages he's gonna have to hold his feet, but at some stages he's gonna have to move. He's gonna have to do both. I don't think his feet needs to be as good as it was when he was at 140 in the sense that just constant movement, because I feel like that's not the style that's gonna win you this fight. But I think it's good enough to win the fight against Spence, because Spence, for all his foot placement ability that he has, he doesn't have the fastest transitional foot speed.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think, to answer the question, Legend, I don't think Bud wants to move like he did at 140.
That's a problem as well. That's a good point.
Yeah, like I don't think he wants to. So that's why Shane and I were saying earlier, like he can make this an easy fight if he fight like he did against Postal. But he's not gonna fight like that. He's not gonna fight like that. Like in Bud's mind, he thinks he's better than Spence. He thinks he's bigger than Spence. He thinks he's stronger than Spence. Thinks he's faster than Spence, and he thinks he's better than Spence in every aspect. So he's gonna go in there and try to prove to everybody like that's exactly what it is. Like he's gonna do less moving than I would like. You know what I'm saying? Which is gonna make for a very entertaining fight because Bud is gonna give Spence opportunities to, to be successful. And be clear, like Spence is physically the stronger guy. Like, let's be clear, he's more the natural 147. Spence could probably fight at 160 right now if he wanted to. You know what I'm saying? But with Bud, I do think there's a talent gap. Like, I think Bud is clearly the more talented fighter, and I think he has more dimensions. But a power puncher that's a southpaw that can box is one of the most difficult styles you can deal with in the sport of boxing. And that's throughout history. That's throughout history at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? But this is about as close to a 50-50 fight as you could possibly get. I can see from a betting standpoint, you would have to go with Spence because he's plus money. He's plus money. Like, you would have to go with Spence, but that's for Vlog, even though Vlog not here. But I gotta add that in for Vlog. You know, he'll jump on the stream and instantly start talking about that. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, so Legend, let me ask you this, bro. If you had to give, what's the 3 things Bud got to do to win this fight, and what's the 3 things that Spence got to do to win this fight?
Spence, man, Spence. I would say, like you said earlier about him jabbing, he always have to, pop off with a jab. I just feel that he can't go to the body a lot. I just feel that Bud would counter him. So if I was Spence, I wouldn't go to the body as much. I would see how it works for him, like how it plays out for him in the early rounds. If Crawford is countering him, then I wouldn't keep going for that body. But for me, I feel Bud, he needs to move because Spence got power. So I feel he needs to move, but I don't know what he's going to do. So like for Bud, I would say definitely move. For Spence, I would say not go to the body as much as he think he should. So those are just some things.
I 1,000,000% agree with both advices that you gave. I think because I know Errol Spence and Crawford's timing is so good, you can't go to the body all the time. So what I would say in addition to this is one thing Spence also has to do is he has to constantly change the speed of his punches. The thing is, we know Spence ain't gonna change his. We know we ain't gonna change his is where he throws his punches from. He's gonna throw it straight down the pipe every time. Everything's gonna be tight, straight down the middle, and he's gonna stay southpaw all the way through. He's pretty much gonna be straight up and down all the way through in terms of where he's throwing punches from. Crawford has the best timing in boxing. So if you're going to be throwing everything at the same speed, at the same range, at the same distance, from the same stance, he's going to get your timing quick. You can't throw the punches at the same speed. You have to vary the levels and vary the speed. So head and body all the time and constantly change the speed. Also, you can't allow Crawford to get into any sort of a rhythm. So very, very early, you got to try and do something to offset Crawford's pace. So if you see Crawford come out orthodox early, you got to beat him to the jab early. If you see Crawford come from orthodox and then switch to southpaw, beat him with the footwork. Make sure your right foot is in the right place. Make sure your head is in the right place, and make sure you're throwing shots from the right place. You can't allow Crawford to lay any foundations, because if you allow Crawford to lay any foundations, these fighters like Crawford, once they get your timing, if you either have to have the ability to adjust or you're done. It's over. It's self-preservation. You can't do anything to survive because once they got your time, it's like everything you'll do, they already know you're going to do it before you do it. You have to find something to offset them. The other way around, I'll say Crawford has to find some way to nullify Errol Spence's punch output early. He needs to make this fight as slow paced as possible. So he has to land something early on Spence that gets his respect. So he's not just coming in there throwing 100 punches around. He has to do something to offset him. I also think he needs to stay southpaw as long as possible. So Errol Spence has to worry about the lead right versus the lead right. If this is lead right versus lead left, Errol Spence is winning every time. Lead right versus lead right. That will be my advice for both.
Yeah, for Crawford, number one, stay in the southpaw stance the whole fight. Simply because that's just what he's comfortable with. He goes into orthodox in spots, but it's not a long period of time. This is not one of them fights he need to be experimenting. Go southpaw the whole fight. Number two, for Bud, he has to use his feet. And I'm not talking about use his feet and he got to be moving all crazy around the ring. He don't even need to move as much as he did against the Postal fight. What he needs to do is use his feet to create angles to get multiple punches off. So the one criticism that I have of Spence, and it's not even a criticism, it's more so just he hasn't been in too many of these situations where a guy is getting off multiple shots on him. Spence really doesn't throw with you. Spence doesn't throw with you. He'll let you get 2 or 3 off, he'll block, and then he'll get right back to work. If that's the pattern that Spence is going to show in this fight, then Bud needs to throw for combinations. And what makes this fight so intriguing is sometimes Bud will throw for combinations and Bud will sit for 20, 30 seconds looking for the right shot. He got to spend less time doing this in this fight. He can't have, the dull moments in this fight. At the very least, he should be throwing for combinations because he knows Spence is really not going to throw with him. That's number two. The third thing with Bud is in terms of the jab for Spence, he has to send something back just to make Spence think. The thing which makes Spence so dominant is that he knows he can get his jab off and he don't have to worry about anything. He's completely comfortable throwing it. Bud has the skill set to throw something back at Spence to where it's going to make Spence think.
That wide right hand. That wide right hand.
It has to be some type of a hook, something to get him thinking. And he has, I would advise him to, because if you notice, Spence really he won't throw like 3 like fast jabs. He throws 1 or 2 hard jabs, and the rhythm is pretty consistent. He has to break Spence's rhythm in terms of the jab. For Spence, Spence needs to number one, he needs to cut off the ring. Even if Bud fights in a southpaw stance, he needs to cut off the ring and put himself in position to where he can rip body shots and minimize the actual minimize what's actually going to come back at him. I think that's going to be really important. Number two, Spence needs to he does this all the time, but Spence, he needs to throw his jab at all levels. He needs to throw his jab at all levels. Because his hook is his left hook is going to be important as well. And I would say the third thing, he needs to change the levels on his left hook. Change the levels on his left hook. Especially if Bud is giving him some movement. He needs to at least throw that left hook out there just to let Bud know, like, hey, you could run into this shot. It's a lot of things that both guys can do, but this is what makes it such a fascinating fight.
Are you gonna make an outward prediction, Jeff?
I'm going Crawford. I'm gonna go Crawford decision. To be honest, I don't see, even if Spence got hurt, I would see him surviving versus getting stopped. I'm gonna say Bud by decision. But um, I I could honestly really see it going the other way. I will say this though, this is the difference between the two. Spence is gonna need some assistance from Bud. He's gonna need some assistance from Bud. It's gonna be spots
I
in the
think they
fight.
both do. I think they both do.
Well, I'm gonna say this. If we both said this is not gonna happen. If Bud fights Spence the way he fought Postal, he don't need assistance.
That's a fact.
He don't need assistance. But with Spence, for him to be successful, I mean, really successful in this fight offensively, he's gonna need spots where Bud is just not being smart. Like, and he's gonna need those moments in each round. And when he gets it, he needs to maximize those moments. But I feel like Spence needs assistance from Bud to win this fight. But Bud, if he really wanted to just play the ultimate style, he really doesn't need assistance to win this fight. But I don't see him doing it. That's what makes the fight so great. I just don't see him doing it. But Hagler Hearns was the same way though. We was like, oh, well, Hearns just stay on the outside, pop the jab, flash that right hand, have Hagler running in the shots. From a technical standpoint, I'd have been like, yeah, like that sounds about right. But when it got in the ring, what happened? Switch went off. You know what I'm saying? And they fought the way Hagler likes to fight. And I could see that happening too, in terms of just spin Buzz just not being smart.
I think that's gonna happen. I think that's gonna happen. I think that's gonna happen. But I also feel like, honestly, I know the legend brought this up as well. I don't think Bud's punch, Errol Spence's punch power is concussive enough to knock Crawford out clean. It is like over a good period of time. Uh-huh. So I feel like at some stage, Crawford is gonna have to make the adjustment, because if he allows Errol Spence to just land those shots consecutively, then obviously he's gonna get knocked out eventually. But whereas Marvin Hagler had the ability to just lights out Tommy Hearns, I don't think he has that. So I feel like even if Crawford does find himself behind, he does have the ability to readjust and reset himself to get himself back into the fight. Whereas I don't think Tommy Hearns had that ability. Now, I don't think Errol Spence Crawford's going to run. I don't think Crawford's going to box like how he fought against Postal. I genuinely feel like at some stages it's going to be a war. But I actually haven't said why I slightly lean towards Crawford. Why I slightly lean towards Crawford is because I feel like both fighters are going to need to use as much tools in the toolbox, and Crawford has more tools.
I agree with that. And that's ultimately why I think Bud would win the fight. I think he just got more tools in the bag. And if
Crawford couldn't bang, I would have said Spence. But because Crawford's got punch power as well at 147, that's why I feel like and we saw Ugas hit Errol Spence and hurt him. So because of that, I feel like I have to lean towards Crawford.
And let me say this real quick. For anybody that says Spence wasn't hurt in that moment, I'm not trying to hear that shit, bro. I'm not trying to hear that shit. Like, it's like they listened to Spence interview after the fight, and he was like, "Oh, I wasn't hurt. I was looking for my mouthpiece." Your mouthpiece was out your goddamn mouth because you was hurt. It got knocked out your damn mouth. Like, I like when people got favorite fighters, like, it don't matter what they eyes see, like they're just gonna come up with something. And I'm like, Spence got a sturdy chin. He got a sturdy chin. But I'm like, when Ugas slapping a mouthpiece out your mouth, and then on top of that, I'm like, the fact that you looking for your mouthpiece in the middle of a fight, we got problems. Like you know what I'm saying? Like, so if Ugas can get Spence's attention, it's pretty clear that Bud has more power than Ugas. Bud is gonna give Spence more angles than Ugas. Ugas fought dumb as hell for dumb as hell. Like he just stood there, was just like, close this phone booth, we gonna make it happen. You know what I'm saying? Close this phone booth, we gonna make it happen. And he's not equipped for that. Like Bud got more tools in the tool bag. I think if it turns into a
Jeff,
chess
how long
match, I
you
think
on for?
he
How
got.
long you on for? How long you
I'm gonna
on
be
for?
on for a little bit. If you got to come out, come back in. Just come back in.
I'm gonna jump out and come back in. Give me
Okay,
20
yeah, I'm
minutes.
cooking.
20
I'm
minutes.
cooking, bro. I ain't going nowhere.
All right, cool.
Yeah, like when it comes down to it, legend, like I feel like if both guys got to figure things out, there's more options to go to if he's trying to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Spence is pretty like he's straight to the point. You know what I'm saying? Like he's straight to the point with it. Hold on. We all from said, please post this vid. I'm out. Gentlemen, love listening to the pod. Appreciate you, bro, as always, man. TM3 said, like Dana White always says, never leave it up to the judges. They better KO or TKO the other fighters, so there's no questioning the winner. You know what? I DM3, like I talked to Legend about this like off camera. I'm like, when it come down to fights, I'm more concerned about the ref now than the judges. Cause like the house fighter, just in general, like the house fighter can get hurt, they won't do nothing. The B-side fighter do a half stank leg and they coming in waving and shit off. I'm more concerned now about the the referee than the actual judge. You know what I'm saying? What
Do
you
we
got,
know who
Legend?
the ref is? Do we know who the referee for this fight is?
You want to guess?
Don't say Harvey Dot, man. He's the ref.
I think so, yeah. I think it's Harvey Doc.
Okay.
Doc. Yeah.
Right.
Let me see. Somebody confirmed that in the chat too. I'm almost sure it's Harvey Doc. Todd said, do you see a possible trilogy since we know a rematch clause is gonna happen? I can see it. I can see it. I can see it. And to be honest with you, Todd, it depends on how the numbers do. If the numbers, now the sad thing about it is this fight's probably not going to do more than Tank Ryan. That's probably the facts. Which means there's a problem in boxing. Now you understand what I'm saying? Like there's a real problem in boxing, and I'm like, you got the two top guys in the sport. And I always said black fighters don't get fully supported financially. They're like hood legends, but there's no money involved. Like, you know what I mean? It depends on how this first fight does. Like if it sells 1 million or close to 1 million, they're gonna make sure this does a trilogy. They're gonna make sure of that shit. What you think, bro?
Yeah, I think like it all depends on the outcome like of the first fight, and the outcome of the rematch. So, if Bud wins one, Spence wins one, then I definitely the trilogy. But if one of them win, both fights back to back, ain't no reason for a trilogy.
Yeah, and another thing, Todd, if both guys know somebody like a Boots is waiting for them, they probably like, man, we better off fighting each other 3 times than you know what I'm saying, than to jump in there with a Boots. You know what I'm saying? So I could definitely see it happening, bro. TJ, big shout out to TJ. He said EJ is a dirty fighter. He loves punching low consistently. The judges are also suspect for this fight. Who is the referee? He needs to warn EJ about low blows. I'm almost sure it's Harvey Doc. I would put money on it. I think it's Harvey Doc. So now as far as the low blows, Spence is not really known for that, but I think in any fight a referee should be conscious of low blows. But EJ being a power puncher, a body puncher, of course you're gonna, you're gonna look for that. But he's such a powerful puncher. I would assume that most of his body shots are on the level. Because if that dude's hitting you low, you're like, yeah.
You're going to feel it.
Yeah, you're going to feel that. So, you know what I mean? You're going to feel
Yeah.
that for sure.
Yeah.
But hopefully, the referee will definitely be looking at that. Stanley Davis in the building. Big shout out to your family. He said, if you saw what Spence said, he had a frontal because all his front teeth were knocked out. Yeah, okay. You talking about when the mouthpiece came out? So I think he did have one from the accident. Basically, he had to get like, if I'm not mistaken, I think he had to get more than one surgery to get his mouth fixed. So yeah, it's crazy. I like you could say Spence has more wear and tear on his body just off the accident.
Congrats, man.
Like, and that wouldn't even be speculation. Um, Andre Southgate, I don't see the fight going the distance. If it does, I believe there will definitely be a knockdown in the fight. I could see a knockdown in this fight. You can you see a knockdown in this fight, Legend?
Yeah, for sure. But like you said, man, it could be like a flash knockdown, could be like a push slip knockdown. You know what I mean? I mean, it can happen always, man.
Right.
Yeah.
TJ said Tim Cheatham, David Sutherland, and Steve Weisfeld will serve as judge. That's disgusting. The third man in the ring will be referee Harvey Doc. I just looked, so that's good. Yeah, Harvey Doc is in the building. I can't say too much about Harvey Doc because I actually want to interview Harvey Doc. So Harvey Doc, if you're listening, your boy want to interview you real quick. But Tim Cheatham, you see Tim Cheatham and Steve Weisfeld in almost every big fight in Vegas. They're going to be two of the three judges. David Sutherland, I think, is the judge that actually had Kambosos winning 117, 111, if I'm not mistaken. Or you know what? Was he? I think he might have been the one that had 117, 111 Kambosos, which is terrible. But yeah, that's not the most encouraging lineup. Like Doc is okay. Doc be when Doc ain't looking for the cameras, man, he's solid. But he has his moments where he just doing too much, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I like you know, like he does chat with you, make sure you are in some fight. He'll chat with you, hey man, you good. Like take Kalinaki, Gerald Washington. Like he's asking watching, man, hey man, you good, man. He's like, if you ain't showing me nothing, I'm stopping. Like Washington wasn't showing him nothing.
It's crazy because I think Harvey Doc does get better with the heavier guys. It seems like when he's had problems with fights, it's been like welterweight down. Like, you know what I mean? Right. I don't know why, but you know, TJ said Harvey did a great job with Devin versus Loma. To be honest with you though, like Devin versus Loma really didn't require too much refereeing. Like they really didn't clinch that much. Like it was pretty consistent action. Andre Southgate, Cheatham, and Sutherland seem to enjoy working together. Yeah, they're always on. They always on cars. TJ, Tim, Cheatham. Hell no. Nah. Yeah, Cheatham. Yeah, you know, judges don't get on the camera and all that, but yeah, Cheatham is definitely a name that shouldn't be in here. I would have vetoed that. I don't care if it's Spence or Crawford. I'd have vetoed him. Like, oh, hell no. Any judge that got a last name that got the word cheat in it, I'm cool. Like I'm cool. I'm straight. TJ said David Sutherland scored Kambosos versus Maxie Hughes a draw, and he'll be judging the Buzz Spence. I thought Maxie won personally. Okay, he was the one that had it a draw. I didn't see no draw. I ain't see no draw. I thought Hughes clearly won the fight. I think Kambosos reminds me of like in terms of people figuring him out and he's an easy hit, he kind of reminds me of Ricky Hatton on the back end of his career. Like that come forward bullying style, like people just start running through that later on in his career. And I think Kambosos, like his style is not conducive to what's successful because people are really just picking him off. Even Tiafimo in parts of their fight, even though Kambosos won that fight, he was picking him off. You know, in that fight, Haney picked him off twice. Hughes was picking him off. Like he's starting to become a puzzle that's easy to figure out. You know what I'm saying? Andre Southgate said, TJ, I agree. Yeah,
I'm saying like nobody, like from everything that I was reading, saying nobody's giving Camboose that fight. Like everybody said he lost that fight. So.
yeah, it kind of, in a sense, it kind of reminded me of like Rolly's last fight. Like, even though he got the stoppage, but before that, everybody had him losing the fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was clear he was losing that fight. So, you know, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the judges, but they're gonna go with the ones with the most experience. So I get it. Harvey Doc, I'm not really pissed off at that choice, but you know, it's kind of like, who else are you gonna get? Like, we really have a shortage in quality referees, and I would have got the guy that make the funny faces and stuff, this the short bald head dude. I forgot his name, but he mainly be in
Is
New
it
York
Steve
though.
Willis?
Steve Willis.
I think
Yeah,
that's his name.
that's my guy. I, to be honest with you, and it's not because of the facial expressions and all that. Like, I honestly think he's the best referee in the sport. Nothing really bad happens when he's in the ring. Like, he has control. Like, you know what I mean? I think he's the best referee in the sport.
But yeah, like far as like Harvey Dock, I'm gonna say, man, I was there when Tank fought Nunes, you know, in Baltimore. Like I said, the man never touched the canvas, and you know, Dock didn't even give him a count. You know what I mean? You can see that Nunes, like you can see it in his face, man. Like he disagreed with that stoppage. But like Doc didn't even give him a count. I mean, once Tank caught him with that big shot in the second round, he was going in for the kill. But I think you know, Doc could have at least gave him a count, man.
Yeah, but see, that's a classic. I'm worried more about the referee than I am about the judge, because there's times in the fight, it's the house fighter that, I mean, if we're playing, if somebody not playing fair, they can be like, hey, listen, the second the B-side fighter get hurt, just wave it off. So now it's actually worse for a fighter to go on the rule now than it was in the past. In the past, a referee will let you go. You can be getting slapped all over the place. The referee gonna let it go. Now, you know, the rule guy can't even afford to get hurt. Rule guy can't even afford to get hurt in the fight. And I know that just from like personal experience in my own hometown. So, yeah, it's a tall task.
Yeah, but like some referees, they can do a good job in one fight and be bad at another. Like who ref Fury and Wilder in the first one? Was it
Oh, that was my man Jack Reese.
And he's done bad in some other fights, right?
Yeah, Jack Reese has been terrible in some fights, like absolutely terrible. And the thing that's crazy is people don't talk about it, but the fight that he refereed before Tyson Fury and Wilder won, the fight before that, there was a fight on I think it was on Fox, and I think it was one of the Ramos brothers, and they fought I forgot the name of the guy, but he was winning the fight. It was the last round, and he literally stopped that fight with like 3 seconds left on the clock. And nobody ever talks about that. Jack Reese was the one that actually stopped that fight. It was like 3 seconds left on the clock. And his explanation was, I didn't know how much time was left on the clock when I'm counting. I'm just evaluating. I'm like, but when you stop the fight, you're basically saying this fighter cannot continue under this circumstance. If there's 3 seconds left in the fight, there's no scenario where he can't continue because the bell about to ring. By the time he gets close to him, the fight's over. That's why people had such a problem with the Mildred Taylor fight. And he stopped it, and I was just like, there's no way he's not surviving because the clock's going to run out. That's the reason why he got criticism for that fight. So that's why he gave Fury the opportunity to actually get up. And people don't talk about that.
Gotcha.
People don't talk about that. And I think it was Ramos, and it was so bad, bro. They gave him Tony Harrison the next fight. The guy that got stopped with 3 seconds left. What was his name? See, now I gotta I gotta look that joint up though. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, but that's why that first fight got refereed like that.
gotcha.
Any other referee, like that's a stoppage. That's a stoppage. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying? But Fury is very fortunate. You know what I'm saying? When he had the
yeah,
bad cut, that fight should have been stopped.
that's
They let him roll with it. The
yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
You know who had like small cuts in the fight. The fight got stopped. Anthony Durrell. Anthony Durrell, I believe it was the mama's boy, Douglas. Dennis
Mm-hmm.
Douglas. Like he had like a small cut. You could barely see it, and they stopped the fight, and they went to the car. Durrell won.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
crazy. Like you know what I'm saying? Like so
Mhm.
it's just wild how things play out just in boxing period. You know, it's crazy, but it's gonna be a real crazy ass fight come Saturday, and the discussion is going to be who's pound for pound number one, the winner of Saturday night or Nui, and it's gonna be a lot of Shane said how he felt, but if Spence wins, they're gonna come for Shane neck. Spence fans gonna come for Shane neck, bro. Like, you feel what I'm saying? And I'm like, people put an emphasis on, multiple weight classes. Like, not everybody does that, and not everybody nobody has to do that.
Right.
Like, you fight it where you're comfortable at. And there's plenty of guys that spent most of their career in one weight class, you know. Um, as you get older, of course, you go up because you just can't get that weight off. But there's plenty of guys that fought maybe one or two weight classes their whole career. Like, you take Zab only fought really at 47. He fought at 40 for a little bit, but he fought 40, 47. um you take Floyd. Like, Floyd went up multiple weight classes, but he went up multiple weight classes because of his body filling out. Like, Zab should have been fighting probably at 40. He probably had the frame for like a 35 fighter, to
Yeah,
be
Zab's
honest with you.
small. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
met Zab. Zab's small, man.
Zab's not a big dude. Like, so Zab was fighting at 47 because that's where the bag was. You know what I mean? Like, that's where the bag was at the end of the day. But he has a 35 or 40 frame.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So it's
yeah.
gonna be real interesting to see how that fight plays out between Spence and Crawford. And this is another question, bro. I don't think anybody's really asked, but if Spence wins this fight, Derek James will literally have two undefeated unified champions at the same time.
Yeah.
Like,
But Mel,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, Mel Spence, yeah.
So does that put him in all-time great status in terms of trainers?
For sure. To me, for sure. I even before he bought that, I was saying, Derek James is like one hell of a trainer, man. He's
I
trainer of the year, man. Like he's doing good work.
Yeah, I had to sneak that in while Shane was off camera. Because I would let Shane tell you his answer, but I couldn't ask that question with him on the show because it'd have just turned into something completely
Yeah,
different,
yeah,
and it's nothing disrespectful towards Derek James at all, but he just has a certain theory on that.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And I respect it. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah. It's Juicy in Shane's pound for pound list.
Um, I want to say yes, only because he's factoring in Usyk at cruiserweight as well. But I gotta ask him. I'm not 100% sure. That's a great question. I had to ask him that
Yeah,
off camera. But that's a great question. But so if Bud wins, right? and it's in dominant fashion, and they don't do the rematch. Where does Bud go from here if he wins this fight? Dominant fashion over Spence, no rematch.
Man, that's a good question, man. Mel is busy, so if he went to 154, can't be Mel. I mean, that can happen next year, but right now Mel is busy. I don't think he's going to fight Boots. Stan Honest is looking to fight Boots, from what I'm seeing. So it's not a lot of options, man. I know a lot of people were calling for Alexis Rocha at one point, but I ain't interested in that.
I ain't trying to see.
Yeah. I mean, if he wins, he's gonna have all the belts, but he's gonna need a challenger. So
yeah,
I don't know, man.
Yeah, only Roach I respect is Freddie Roach. That's it. Anybody got a Roach in their name, I'm cool on that. Yeah. Like, you know what? I think the only option for Bud would be Mel at 54. So you got undisputed versus undisputed. That would be history made because Mel would be the only person to come off with 2 undefeated. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And that's if Mel gets past Canelo. And
but I don't think Mel belts is on the line though.
Okay.
So he would still be undisputed.
Yeah, like I said, I was going to throw Virgil out there, but he's got way too many issues right now, way too many health issues. So I ain't gonna mention Virgil Ortiz.
Right. Let me see. So TJ said, if Mel comes back down to 54, he has to fight Tim Tszyu. That's true, but if Bud comes knocking, then Zoo's gonna get another step aside check. You can take that to the bank. They're not gonna let Zoo get in the way of Bud and Mel. They'll give Tim Tszyu a preliminary fight, give him a 7-figure check, and tell him to go sit down somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Adrian, what's going on, bro? He said, Tim Tszyu in Australia. See, the thing about that, bro, is that Tim Tszyu doesn't have the pulling power to make Bud go to Australia. And neither does Mel wouldn't go out there either. You know what I mean? That's the problem. But that's why Tszyu needs his shot.
Yeah. Who do you think Tszyu should take on next? I mean, you got Lubin, you got Brian Mendoza.
If I'm him, I'm probably taking on a Mendoza. That's probably the safest fight for him. Lubin would definitely be a dog fight. If I was Tim Tszyu, I would say either Mendoza or like a J Rock. If he can get J Rock down to come back down to 54, I would say J Rock. But Mendoza's a solid choice though.
Yeah, Adamas is 160, right?
Adamas is 160, and Adamas and J Rock did fight at 160. Okay. Another option for him could be if he can get Ramos to come up from 47 and meet him in 54. I think that's another safe opportunity for him as well. Like Tim Tszyu don't want to have a Fundora situation. You know what I mean? Got my guy Vlog stepping up in the joint. What's up, big dog? Mic check.
What's good with you?
What's up with you, bro?
Salute.
Man, hot, tired. Just got off the job. Appreciate y'all, man. How the convo going?
Everything straight, man. We who you got, bro? Spencer. Who you got, bro? Spencer Bud, bro. Talk to me.
I got Spence.
Okay.
I got Spence for political reasons. And political reasons mostly. So I'll put it to you like that.
All right, give me boxing. Take the politics out of it because I know what politics you're talking about. With just straight boxing, who you got winning?
I think Spence can win it just because he's rugged. You know what I mean? He don't have to he won't have to like search for Bud. Like Bud is not like super foot swifty where he gonna be doing all that running around. Now the pivot game, I think he might have to worry about. But even at this stage in Bud's career, he's not crazy pivoting like that. You know what I mean? As much like the pivot that I'm talking about that Porter was putting on him. Now that was rough for him to deal with. You know what I mean? But I think Bud may try it. But hopefully them dudes did some coaching and able to deal with that because it frustrated him a little bit. And Porter was able to get off. That's what kept that fight close. Porter pivoting and getting off first.
Yeah, and nobody fights like Porter. Like Porter's just like.
I mean, but Bud can pivot. That's what I mean. Like how Bud can pivot, get a counter shot off that can hurt, be stingy.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing with Porter is it's the amount of times he pivots. Like he pivots sometimes and it ain't even fucking necessary. You know what I mean? Like he was just pivoting like crazy.
But in that fight, yeah, I know that, but I'm just saying, you know how you can learn something that another opponent was successful at, and you're such a student of the game, like a Boots, like a Crawford, like a Mayweather, and you can incorporate that because it'll work for this fight, not something that you make part of who you are. That's who Porter is. But I'm saying Bud is a pivoter because he can box, and he has done it. You know what I mean? Did it on Mean Machine. I believe he did it against the boy that just lost here recently and shit. What's his name? Pivel or some not Bivel. What's the other?
Postal.
Something.
Postal.
Yeah, Postal. Yeah, he did the little pivot move on Postal a couple times and got nice little counter shots off. That's what I'm leery of. But Spence has such a high guard that, you know what I mean? It'll have to be the quickest, cleanest shot to really get through. So hopefully, you know what I mean? I just think it's gonna be a chess match, and I don't think Spence has really no advantage outside of the political setting. And I think that advantage is so strong, it's worth betting on. And you subject to double up. Spence he just dropped down to 114, plus 114. So it's a double up. You put a unit on it. Yeah, it's going down. Yeah, it was started in the 20s. Like, I think 22 is the highest I saw, plus 122, and it's all the way down to plus 114. That's dropping. Shit, damn near by fight night they might be minus.
Yeah, I seen Spence was as high as plus 145, bro.
Plus, okay. See, that was early. Yeah. Crawford is the favorite. Yeah, no doubt. But people got to understand, boxing has politics in it. You understand what I'm saying? You gotta be able to read the tea leaves to a certain extent. And when you get folks talking about questioning, not rematch clauses and things like that, sound like a lot of politics in the game, and they don't want to play with dude. You understand what I'm saying? Like, oh, okay, so if you win, my dude can't get back in there? You subject to run with the belts and go across the street? Oh, okay. All right. I'm just saying. Gotta be careful. Gotta be leery of all this type of stuff, especially when you bet. Now, if you just, favorite your guy, a lot of this probably won't sway you, but when you gambling, injuries, all of that, behind the scenes type of stuff kind of affects which way your leans are gonna go with. But for posterity's sake, I like the underdog anyway. I'm an underdog type of guy. So, I'm not a Spence fan per se. You know what I mean? But in this situation, I gotta go with Spence. I think he got more of he's the good guy in this fight on his side. So a lot of positivity with fan support, things like that. He got a lot going into the ring, not just because he's not quote unquote the boxer that Crawford is. He still has a lot of good positivity. He's the dude with all the belts. So again, He don't have to win per se. He just can't lose.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
And a draw to me has got to be in a mid 30s, 35% chance of a draw. Gotta be. If you're going any lower than that, I don't think you know how to wager.
Yeah, my homie Matt was saying he was going to bet on the draw. It could definitely happen. It could definitely happen for sure. Which actually locks in the rematch. It locks it in. So
yeah, that's what a
said,
draw does, but it not necessarily. Not necessarily, because if Crawford feel like it's politics, he might not want to go back down that route.
Well, from what I was told, he's officially signed and the rematch is in place. From what I was told. So
no matter who wins, or is it a win-loss
no matter
situation?
Who wins. Yeah, no matter who wins, it's supposed to be a rematch. So it's basically a 2-fight deal from what I was told. So if that's the case, then I mean he don't have to worry about that. But I could definitely see a draw. Because actually a draw would actually bring more intrigue to the rematch. So I could definitely see a draw happening for sure. TJ said, what's Castano doing? Castano is, I don't know where Castano.
He might be looking to get Big Charlo. If Charlo don't run up to 168, that's what I heard, that he was looking to go up to 160, probably get a shot at Charlo, and then a little situation with him. That would, because he's supposed to have had a little nitpick of an injury.
Yeah.
So he had, you know what I mean, supposed to use that time, put on the weight, heal up, and go back in and challenge Charlo. You know what I mean? Which would make sense. Former 154 champ going up to 160, challenging the champ. You know what I mean? It's a promotional fight. It would make sense. Your boy cold as ice in these streets, but a great fight for him would be him and Demetrius, because both them dudes is, you know what I mean? They freeze a cold, bro. Like, yeah, so that would be a good fight, because they got the old footage that they could use to help build and hype it.
Hey, Vlog, I said when we was live last time, man, Andre just fighting. He just fought in January, but he said he needs to get one more before the year's up, man. And he fought, DeMar Nicholson, but Nicholson wasn't that good.
Yeah, so we talking, that's 6 months ago.
Yeah, he's due.
That's what I mean. It would have been a great situation to finish off the year with Bro fighting. You know, like Bro fighting in, what is that, September?
Yeah. Joseph N said, "Man down."
I don't know what they doing with a lot of these cats.
Well, I want to see.
Don't get me to misleading the fans. I can't call what they doing, bro. Don't make no sense. I mean, you figure if you got a lot going on, let's say personally, sometimes it's good to just go to work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Beg your pardon?
Yeah, no, I feel you. I mean, Jamal Charlo, just at this point, I just want to see him fight before the next president is elected.
I'm frozen over here. Let me see if my internet trip. I can still hear you, but
I think frozen. That's in 2025. I think that presidential election is going down. So if I can get Maul to fight before the next president gets elected, I'm cool with that. You know, it's just he's beyond ice cold, bro. Like I can't even explain how cold he is right now. Like, I'm telling you, he's having just a bad.
That's next year, bro.
Huh? What'd you say?
Yeah,
What you say, bro?
Yeah, I mean, I can't call it.
Your joint going in and out, bro.
Yeah, I want to see Thurman, man. Thurman. I want to see him back. You know, I want to see Andre back. I want to see Maul back. So it's a lot of them, man.
Yeah, I just sometimes you just gotta, like boxing is really, especially your career, momentum is very important. Very, very important. Like you even take like a Boots, for example. Boots is coming off of a great win. You gotta get him back in there at like September. You gotta get him back in there like September. Or October. You know what I'm saying? He should definitely have another fight before the year is out. That you have to capitalize on that momentum. Um, but guys are, just inactive. Like Thurman, ice cold in these streets. Maul, ice cold in these streets. Gary Russell, ice cold in these streets. Andre, as much as I love Andre, he's ice cold in these streets. Like these, I mean, it's crazy.
And here's the thing with Russell, you always see him going live training until
like
that's it. I hate to say it, but
bro,
you always see, he's always live, but he's training and talking.
Bro, he be in training camp for like backyard brawls and shit, man. Like I'm just like, bro, like we need you actually inside the ring, bro. And then the thing that's funny is that the guys that's inactive is always like why they don't get the support or why they're not where they supposed to be in their career. That's because you're not actually doing your job. Right. Like your job is to fight in front of the fans and build your brand. You can't build your brand not fighting. Like you can't build your brand not fighting.
Antron Russell got a fight coming on. He's actually fighting next month on somebody's undercard.
Yes.
Yeah, so he got a fight locked in.
Yeah, like so it's crazy. Like it's absolutely crazy, what's going on right now with a lot of these guys, but it's all about momentum at the end of the day. It's all about momentum. I was trying to see if Vlog's gonna jump back in here because I was like, we got a good 2 hours in. This is good enough for me. Yeah. I'm gonna stick around for a couple just to see if he jump back in. But
Andre, man, ain't he with Solomon?
Who?
Andre. Who's his promoter? I mean, he fought on PBC on the Showtime card.
Yeah, I think he's kind of a free agent, so I think he kind of floating right now. There's a guy named Ghost that be in my in the chat all the time. I don't know who he is specifically, but he's definitely in that Andre camp. He's familiar with all them guys in the Andre camp. So they like Andre always gets, and it just always falls apart. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, but I just feel like he's missed out on so many opportunities. Like, you know what I mean? So he's trying to catch up and get it on the back end. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's lost a little steam too. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna close this joint out because I'm gonna jump back on here tomorrow. I'm off tomorrow too. So I'll definitely do another joint tomorrow, man. Legend, give me your social media and all that, good brother.
Yeah, y'all can catch me on TikTok, the Legend 3347, IG, same name, Facebook, Todd Finney podcast in this corner, man.
Yup, in this corner podcast, man. When you doing the next episode, bro?
I probably will cover like Bud and Spence. Like if I don't go nowhere and watch, I definitely will just probably cover the fight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any interviews lined up?
Yeah, man. I'm still working, man. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting on them to get back with me. You know what I mean? Like you said, man, sometimes they hard to get.
That's a fact, bro. That's a fact, man. Ty Finney, the legend. Y'all can find me all over the place, man. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, G5JeffTv. You can find Shane at I_am Shane, the number 1 on Instagram, and Blunt is on Instagram as BoxingFirstVlog. But we appreciate you guys actually sticking around and talking some, not only Spence Crawford, but just overall boxing, man. We'll do a quick roll call. Big shout out to Joseph N. Big shout out to TJ, Adrian, Andre Southgate. Big shout out to Stanley Davis. Big shout out to Todd, DM3, Entertainment. We all from Jay Banks, J.O., Bruce Gas. Big shout out to him as well, man. Appreciate you guys jumping on with Ty Finney, the legend, and myself. We will be back tomorrow. I'm not sure if it's going to be on. It'll probably be on both our channels, but we'll figure it out. Follow us on social media so you can get the details, get the link. And on behalf of the staff, man, we see y'all tomorrow. Appreciate y'all.